Hmm. Now what?
Now what?
Back again?
We forgot how to do this.
She forgot how to do that.
And
Where have we been?
we were in Turkey and we were doing some Loki. The hostel was closed. We had a lot of visitors, retreats. We were very busy.
Mm.
Yeah. We lived.
We observed.
Yes.
We observed.
And
Now, what
interesting.
happened in Turkey? Something mm, that gave something to you to go to Turkey? 2 weeks, Turkey.
A lot, many things. Well, first, it was really something to see where all of this, well, not where all of this started for you, but where all of this came together for you. Yeah, to visit the derga, to visit a lot of the tombs that you have been to or that other people have taken you to in the past, and then simply to observe Turkish people. It was absolutely wonderful to be in a place.
You remember what I said to you in Turkey? If someone asks you about love, send them to Turkey.
Yeah,
If they are able to observe, they will get it.
yes.
What that means, appreciation for creation. No, this young lady, she insisted and said, "Come, old man, let's go to Turkey." I said, "No, I'm too old, a long flight and all these things and shit. And no, I don't
I don't
want,
want to
but
travel.
I don't want to travel. It's so long." And she said, "No, no, no, come on, we go." And then it started just in the airplane with Turkish Airlines that they said, "Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and children."
Yes.
Oh, wow, never no one says that.
And we heard that on the train too.
And then we came to Istanbul and to the custom control, the police control, where they have to give you the stamp for entry. And there came this young man and he was singing. He just came, sat there in his office. I said, "Oh, one more." He said, he asked me, "What is your name?" I said, "Thomas." "Oh, wow, Thomas. Yeah, how nice. But you have to wait a moment because the computer does not work right now," and blah, blah, blah. And he did not stop singing. So he was sitting there in his office, and I was standing in front of the little cabin where he was sitting. I said, "Okay, you go on singing, and I play the guitar or sus." Okay, and so I was standing there, ding, 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 and he was singing, and we were just laughing. That was the most wonderful welcome to Turkey to say, yeah, it's good to make this journey.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really wonderful. Full of wonders and wonderful.
Okay, now,
And interestingly, we stopped reading before Turkey when it was time for you to leave Turkey. And the last, or what was it? Don Carlos, the healer here, told your wife, it doesn't matter if it takes 7 days, 7 weeks, or 7 months, or 7 years, or something like that. But this journey is about him. And then it was exactly 7 months, and
to the day
to the day, and you're
that my master said, your learning here is over. There's nothing else for you to learn.
yeah.
You go back into your own things.
And so the last paragraph that we read was, when I asked whether we should live better in the city or in the countryside, he, the master, said, in the city, you have to be available to people to help them. Do you have any question? The Baba wanted to know. Not now, at that moment. The questions come back when I go through the doors of the airport, I answered. Because that's what happens.
That was a time when there was no internet.
Mm,
So, I mean, to live there somewhere lost in the country, today you could do that because you could bring people in. You can make an Airbnb in the middle of nowhere and people come, you
yeah.
know, or advertise your retreats or whatever. But in that time, it was not possible. So it was useless to stay there in this big farm and fight for surviving. No.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we read the chapter.
Read,
We come.
read.
Okay. This chapter is called Granada. Once back in Andalusia, we decided to sell the farm and try our luck in the beautiful city of Granada. Friends lived there and helped us to find a home. We bought a very small house and I restored it like I always do. I also helped in a carpentry shop to earn some money. Our belongings had to be transported from the farm to Granada, so we took a number of trips in the car, full of everything we thought would be useful.
In that time, there was no highway. It was just a normal road full with holes. I mean, India, full with holes. It was a nightmare. It took hours and hours and hours to go from here to Sevilla. That's maybe 200 or 250 kilometers. Wow.
Not so long ago, and yet.
But maybe now I say that we were on the highway, so maybe that was before. Before, when we started visiting Granada. So maybe now the story comes about the truck. Let's see.
Let's see. Oh, yes, it does. On one of these moving trips, the following happened. We were on the highway from Seville, heading towards Granada. A tanker truck drove in front of us. Suddenly, the vehicle turned left, crossed the median strip and the opposite lanes, and fell about 5 meters down the side of the road, where the truck came to an overturned stop on a dirt road. 2 explosions were heard. I stopped our car and ran across the highway to find out what had happened and possibly help. The explosions were caused by 2 of the huge tires coming out of joint. The truck was lying on its left side. The tank was torn open and the escaping boiling tar had formed a small lake next to the vehicle. I climbed onto the driver's compartment to look for the driver. The cabin was empty, no sign of the driver. I watched the bubbling asphalt bubbles and feared that the driver was beneath this hot, black mess. Several people had stopped and were looking at the scene in disbelief. As I stood there trying to figure out what to do, a man appeared dressed all in black. He came running over to us from a nearby forest. When he met me, he asked, "What are you looking for here?" "The driver of the tanker," I replied. "I'm the driver of the tanker," the man replied. That was simply too much for me. I turned around and asked Anna to come back to our car with me. We drove home.
That's too far out.
That's really far out.
It's too far out. It happened several times in my life, and it's simply too far out. In that moment, maybe I go into kind of shock or whatever. I'm not able to. I should have asked the driver, "Come on, tell me, what are
did
you,
you
a
get
spirit, or what are that? What I'm observing right now?" It's not possible.
The next day, I bought a newspaper to see what was reported about the accident. There was no mention of any accident. Danke. Would you like to lie down? Yes. These events are difficult to believe and absolutely impossible to explain. I feel uneasy in these moments and quickly leave the scene, and yet I describe these things here because they are part of my own experiences. A new visit to Don Carlos was planned. The healer welcomed us with a smiling face and remarked, since I was wearing a crocheted cap on my head, that this path should be lived internally and without any external extravagances.
He was laughing about me. He was laughing about me. There's a humorous comedy group from Sevilla, and he asked me, "You're one of that group? I mean, what happened to you now?" And I got the point. I said, "No, it's not something external. It has to be internal.
You don't have to show it."
You don't have to show it."
He described the beginning of his own development as a healer. I was a young man, neither religious nor spiritual, and worked as a construction worker. From one moment to the next, all the knowledge, visions, and voices came down to me. For 2 years, I was on the verge of ending up in a madhouse. There was no one with whom I could share or comment on what I had heard or seen. Later, I slowly learned to deal with it. When a few people in my village heard that I could heal, the farmer called me to help his small flock of sheep. The sheep suffered from severe diarrhea. I did what I could do, and all the sheep died.
You've seen the movie about the life of Moses, no?
Yes.
Moses is a typical example for that, supposedly what is written. So God always asked him, do this, do this, do that, and then he did not fulfill what he proposed him. And he was standing there almost like an idiot, saying, what are you doing with me? I mean, you tell me the food will come or the water will come or we will find this or that, and nothing happened. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's part of supposedly making clear that it does not come from you, to avoid to end up arrogant and say, I can do. No, because we cannot. No one can.
It comes, how can we express it? It comes through us.
Mm, mm,
Creation
mm,
works
mm,
through us because
mm,
it needs a.
mm. And if they want, give it a name, if they want, it will happen. If they don't want, it will not happen. So, or whatever they want will happen. So you are just
Tool,
a tool in the middle.
which is like saying, no, that coming to realize that it would be good to serve other people in the name of creation.
Mm, of the creator.
Yeah. Since Don Carlos didn't want to accept any money from me, I agreed with him to ask the people I put in contact with him to pay what is now the equivalent of 10 euros per trip. I would collect this money and then, once a certain amount had been raised, send the money to him by postal transfer. The healer agreed, and I sent him money every now and then for years. Our house in Granada was in the lower part of Albaicin, the former Muslim quarter. In those years, Granada was a pretty run-down city, and there were a lot of drug dealers and similar characters living around us. Once, as I stepped out the front door, I caught a young man opening my car to remove the spark plugs from the engine. What are you doing? I asked, surprised. Oh, is that your car? Sorry, I didn't know that, was his prompt reply. And with these words, he went to the next vehicle and unscrewed the spark plugs. You live
Yeah,
here,
because
so
yeah,
you know
you were
you belong.
respected. No, you belong to this dark scene here, so no problem. But any visitor, no.
No. That's why we later decided to leave the city and move to a small village. A daughter was born to us, and it really wasn't the right environment to raise children. A friend came to visit. When we told her about Don Carlos, she expressed interest in getting to know him. This young lady was a bit conceited and very opinionated. We informed her that she should offer the healer payment once she completed her visit. About 10 euros, we said. She drove to him and came back upset and angry. This man is an idiot and can't help anyone, were her words. She told how Don Carlos had spoken to her. He had told her that she wasn't sick, just that she had an oversized ego.
Mhm.
At the end, she had asked how much she owed him for the visit. The healer looked at her and said, 6,425 pesetas. A lot of money. That was everything she had in her wallet, down to the last penny. She had left the healer angry and raging. Yes, even Don Carlos couldn't help this young lady.
I mean, he gave her a sign, no? How can he know to the last cent what is in her pocket?
Yes.
No, then in that moment you should have
Broken down.
broken down. No,
Huh?
no, 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 no. He was an idiot, and that's it.
Well, I mean, that is the affliction, no? The oversized ego.
Yeah. Mm.
Little by little, a few people appeared who were willing to listen to my stories and play music with me. We started a mini ceremony with a guitar, a violin, and some percussion, reciting exotic words in monotone manner. The whole thing took about half an hour. Then we drank tea and chatted. Every beginning is difficult, and I was quite happy to have found a few students. Students in a few students. A man from Egypt arrived in Granada.
Mhm.
This man was said to be a Sufi master, a Baba. He started holding ceremonies at an acquaintance's house, and suddenly all of my students disappeared to be with him.
Because he was a master, he was a real master because he was Arabic.
Mm.
And it turned out he was not a master because we became friends. And he said, no, I'm not. I'm just a dervish. I have my master, but I'm not a master. Mm.
But people are attracted by
Names and fame and
what is it? Signs and
disguises.
wonders.
Hmm?
Signs and wonders.
So what happened then?
I had a hard time finding the few people, and now they had disappeared again. I met the Baba and we became friends. His name was Sidi Mohammed. Ah, this is Sidi Mohammed.
No,
No.
that's another Sidi Mohammed.
He often came to my house and told me something about his own story. The Sidi was a student of a 12th century master. I looked at him in disbelief and commented, all right, but who is between the master and you today? You cannot be the disciple of a man who died hundreds of years ago. Sidi replied, when I have a question, I sit on the sofa, close my eyes, and the master sits next to me. Sidi put his hand on my knee and continued, exactly like that, can I touch him? He's really there and answers my questions. Sidi had told me that he didn't know why he came to Andalusia. He was now living in Morocco and his master had asked him to travel to Andalusia without giving him a reason. One day, Sidi showed up at my house excited and said he now knew why he had been sent to Andalusia. Because of you, he said, to take your students away from you again. You chose the wrong people for your work. You have to look for people with more. Well, that had worked.
You see, that guy from the 12th century is telling that man who's alive now to come here to do that for me. And of course, in the beginning, I was angry.
Yes.
Suddenly I was sitting alone again. And everyone was going there to make the sessions with him, no? Mm. Mhm. It happened then later again.
None of these people ever came back to me. Sometime later, Don Carlos confirmed to me that I was choosing the wrong people to share my life.
He did it, Don Carlos. He did it the second time, and everything finished here. Not all, but nearly all disappeared. And I'm very happy about that, because that opened everything up here. And now I can help much more people than before. These people were all pretenders. I mean, they have their own way to go their own way, but I was not the right person for them to open them up. They didn't want to open up so much. They needed a more
Strict, guided.
strict yeah, way. Or, mm.
Sidi and I had been invited to a wedding. As we sat there at the long table, my eyes fell on a basket filled with oranges. The idea came to my mind to peel an orange and offer it to Sidi to show the other guests that this man deserved special respect. As I began to peel the orange, I changed my mind and decided to give Sidi half of the fruit. That would still be enough to make it clear that we owed this man special consideration, but not as humbly as handing him the whole orange alone. I did what came to mind. Sidi looked at me and said, "Thank you very much, but I asked you for the whole orange."
You see, so they give you these signs, and if you are, maybe no one would have realized it, but me, yes, I
Yes.
do. No? I say, oh, wow.
In our neighborhood, I was known as the Turk. One day, someone brought a man to our front door asking about the Turk. I invited the man in, and it turned out that he was planning a trip to Istanbul and was hoping to get useful information from me. There were city maps and pictures that we looked at together. I had decided not to tell the man anything about the Derga and the Baba. When asked if he wanted tea, coffee, or cake, the man said no. He was Spanish, and he had told me that he was a teacher at a high school. I gave him a piece of paper and a pen and asked him to write down a few useful phone numbers and addresses. The man looked at me and replied, "I can neither read nor write."
You see, that's the
A little
same like
strange.
with that guy from the tanker. It's too much for me.
Yeah.
But it's quite clear. There is something here that is not from this world. It's not normal. And I only could say to the man, thank you very much, goodbye.
We said goodbye to the strange visitor and locked the door tightly behind him. Yeah, it was not from this world.
It's not from here. It's not, this is too far out. It's no. I mean, in reality, everything is too far out, but we got used to it. You take a little seed and then a high tree is coming out there. And we believe that we can explain that with our science. No, we cannot explain nothing. It's a miracle. We should be absolutely astonished, but we got used to it. And apparently we can explain. No? But when these moments come and you cannot explain, well,
Supposedly,
absolutely no, no way.
we try to explain it all with science, no?
That's how we feel safe. If we cannot explain something, we feel very unsafe, and we don't want to feel unsafe.
That reminds me of, maybe we mentioned it before, the documentary about the Kogi people.
Hmm.
And when one of the Kogis travels to from Colombia, and one of the Kogi people travels to London, and
Hmm.
it's this astrologer,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
and he's able to identify the stars on these
Hmm.
pictures of the
Hmm.
universe.
Hmm.
And then he says, yeah, the difference between you, white people or modern
Hmm.
people, and us is that you believe that with every generation you know more,
Hmm.
and we believe that with every generation we lose
Hmm.
more.
Hmm. 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 Because you lose the connection. The connection can tell you everything, can show you everything, everything, everything. Everything is possible. Hmm.
In the beautiful green gardens of the Alhambra Palace, I was approached by one of those black-clad gypsy women who give rosemary to tourists and tell them the future. I didn't want the rosemary or the future. My companion looked at her and said, "This man can also see the future." So she asked me how I see the future. I looked at her from feet to head and said, "It's all black. I see the future completely black."
Because she was dressed completely in black. I looked at her. The future very dark.
The gypsy woman turned abruptly and disappeared. That was too much for her.
That was too much for her.
One evening, I was working with my colleague on the expansion of a tea house right next to our apartment. It was getting late, and our wives had come to pick us up. Suddenly, we heard shouting in the street. There was usually no one around at this time. A young couple argued, and the man, a Frenchman, became violent. I opened the shutter and dragged the young woman into our shop. The man followed. Then I closed the door, and the woman cried and asked for help. her companion, was a very brutal person, and we, who were all a little gentler in our approach to life, did not know what to do. The man threatened us, grabbed his girlfriend's arm, and was about to run back into the street. But completely unexpectedly, the shutters opened with a loud noise, and a huge man entered. He grabbed the Frenchman by the collar. He tried to defend himself, but his fists didn't even reach the rest of
That
his
was
body.
3 meters. That guy, a huge guy. He made like that, and the other couldn't.
The man asked us to call the police. The officers came and took the violent perpetrator away, and the young woman was able to go home in peace. When I asked who he was, the giant replied, "I'm the one who shows up when one of our friends is in trouble." Nobody knew this man, and we never saw him again. That gives me goosebumps.
Another moment of
Yeah.
these.
I'm the one who
What a,
shows up when one of our friends is in trouble. What a beautiful feeling, no?
talking in the name of the Creator or God, or how you want to call that. If one of our friends is in trouble, he sends me to help. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We soon started looking for a new home in the Granada area. Finally, we found a small village. Here, the narrow fields on the slopes of the mountains were still plowed with oxen. There were sheep, goats, and donkeys in the village. On our first visit to the village, this, by the way, is this village.
Is this village where we
Oh,
got stuck.
On our first visit to the village, a neighbor came out of his house and asked me what we were looking for. So we told him we wanted to buy a house. He pointed to the house we were standing in front of and said, "You can buy this house."
You know what his name was? His name was Paco Webber. That means Paco Balls.
Eggs, balls.
Paco Balls.
Because people just call them based on some story.
No, yeah, based on some story.
Something would have happened in his family with.
No, the recently I saw, and they called this guy the monkey, El Mono, and then they said no, but it's not that he looks like a monkey or whatever. One of his grandfathers, when he was going to ride on the donkey, he was just jumping on the donkey, and they gave him the nickname Monkey, and now the whole family, they are the monkeys.
And it's a flamenco musician or something, right? So it's a family that is known.
Claro.
That they just call them. Los monos.
Los monos. El mono. Mira el mono. Mono, ven para acá. Come, mono.
Yeah, different.
Mhm.
Easier, lighter.
No one takes offense with that. No. Here not.
So this neighbor said, "You can buy this house, but I want to give you some advice. You must know that until you haven't lived in this village for 300 years, you are not from here. I myself am from a neighboring village, have lived here for 30 years, and I'm still a stranger." People are very, very friendly. They're helpful. You can chat with them. They're curious. They're also talkative. But
don't try to take over. Don't try to do something. It's their village.
The house was for sale. However, the owners demanded a high price that we neither wanted or could pay. Unsure about whether moving to this village was the right decision, I decided to give it a try. I offered the sellers only half the price and said, "If you accept this, it will be a sign for us to move to the village." I've never bargained for a price in my life. I see wanting to drive down the price as an expression of distrust in the seller. Be that as it may, they agreed to the price I quoted and we moved to that village. 3 more daughters were gradually born here. And many houses bought and renovated and sold.
And the school is open because of that. because it was at the point to close. There were no children, and we came with a lot of children here. And so school is still open.
Yes. We hear it every day.
Yeah, it's just next to here.
It's not disturbing though.
No, you get used to it. It's what it is.
Meanwhile, there was a small group of people who had accepted me as their Baba. Everyone gradually moved into this village and bought small old houses that were expanded so that no one had to pay rent.
I told them in that time, everyone coming here shall buy a house, because a day will come that the rent of houses will be so high that you have to pay all the money you gain just for the rent. We are living this time now. Young people cannot rent any longer a house. So, and everyone coming here, they bought a house, a little house, abundant house, or whatever. We arranged it, or everyone had, they had their own house.
The original name of the village means bridge.
Alcantara. That
Alcantara.
apparently means, is an Arabic word, means bridge.
In the first few weeks here, I had a dream. I found myself with several of my students in a large room with a ditch running through the middle.
Separating both parts of the room.
The bridge led over the ditch. I approached the bridge to cross it to the other side of the room. The ditch was full of snakes, scorpions, and similar creatures. I crossed the bridge and waited for my students to follow me. But they were afraid. So I extended my hand to them and helped them cross the bridge. The strange thing was that my followers were terrified, even though they could not see what was in the ditch.
That was wonderful, really. Explaining a lot of things. That is what happened to people. They are afraid, but they do not know afraid of what. And without the help, they will never come out. It's not possible. They just stand there paralyzed, and they cannot. And they don't know what is the problem.
The following grew, and among them was a young woman from a fairly wealthy family. Her family, especially her mother, was deeply Catholic and not very pleased with her daughter's spiritual extravagances. At the end of her life, the old lady lay in a coma in the hospital in Barcelona. The daughter asked me to do something for her mother. I did what I could. The mother woke up several times and told her daughter that she had seen several members of our spiritual group in visions and that she had liked them extremely well. She came out of her coma 3 times and asked her daughter to do something for the people of Granada. When the mother finally died and the daughter inherited a large sum of money, she bought a spacious building, 2 grounds for us.
This one.
Where we live, where we stay, live, where we are right now. Another strange dream was shown to me. I saw a woman with her daughter in a car speeding down the highway straight to her doom.
In a dream. That was a dream.
She was about to collide head-on with another vehicle. I shouted to the woman in the dream, "Throw the child out, throw him out of the car." 2 days later, I read in the news about a plane crash in South America. The plane was about to crash. The mother managed to throw her child out of the plane to save it. Everyone died, but not the child. It fell from an incredible height to a flooded meadow. The arms and legs were broken, but the child was found and survived the accident.
What? The dogs and the cats in Istanbul, it's connected or it's not connected?
It's connected. Maybe we should tell that story.
Tell the story.
Because you mentioned it now. So we were sitting in a park in Konya, in a cafe, and we had ordered food. And there was a dog that was lying in the park. Now, the people in Turkey consider, would you say they consider dogs to be unclean?
Yes, because of their belief.
Yes.
They say if a dog licks you, your prayer is not valid.
Yeah.
So they don't want to have the dogs inside of their houses.
Yet they're, as you said in the beginning, it's love, like to feel love.
They are all over dogs, big dogs like our dogs, all over, and everyone is putting food and water to the dogs and the cats on the street. The dogs are in this train station. You come into the train station and there's this big beast sleeping there, and everyone is treating them well. We have not seen one aggressive dog, only one. When we wanted we were looking for a tomb and we didn't know where the tomb was, and that dog started to bark. He was behind the fence, and that barking called his owner, and the owner came out and showed us the tomb.
Yeah.
So that, but all full with these big, all roaming like you would think in India, or you see it, the cows roaming everywhere, these dogs, and completely friendly, and everyone taking care of them. You remember we went to a shop to buy some snacks for a dog.
Yeah.
And the guy came with a big sack because everyone is buying that, and they go on the street and give their big buckets and they fill them with food every day.
Yeah.
For
There's
everyone.
always enough for all of them.
Wow.
So they're not exactly hungry.
No, and they have all this kind of chip in their ear because they are all controlled by a vet that is free. The state is paying that.
To sterilize them,
Sterilize or vaccine or whatever. So they're very healthy animals, but everywhere. Mm.
So we were sitting in that cafe in the park, and then uh, we had some dog treats with us, and Fendi was giving the dog that was already there some dog treats, and a couple of moments later, two more dogs came. They also got some treats, and we shared our food with them. And at one point, I said to the two new arrivals, I said, "Can you please send regards from us to Chanka and Floki,
To our dogs.
to our dogs?" And within seconds, these two newcomers started to play exactly how our dogs are playing. One of them was making the sounds that only Floki makes, and the other one was playing the way that Tanka plays with her paws, very specific movements. And it was as if Tanka and Floki were there with us, just in different
A different body.
different body.
They were sending the greetings back to us.
They were sending the greetings
It
back
was
to us.
quite clear. But yeah, but or you believe and you want to see things like that, or you are not even aware. You say to the dog, "Shut up," and no, you enjoy that. And meanwhile, one of the young waiters who was maybe 20 meters away in the restaurant where we were sitting in the garden. He apparently observed us and he came with some perfume tissues to clean our hands later.
Yeah.
I mean, to be there, to observe that, just to come and say, "Take that." Wow, what is there? No, and then we went on an island and we passed by a restaurant and there was a cat in front of the restaurant. So I bowed down and touched the cat and then we went on. And later we decided to go back to that restaurant.
The
And
cat followed us.
we went in, we don't know, we went in and Lena went to order some food and I was sitting there maybe 10 or 20 meters from the entrance of the restaurant. And suddenly the cat came through all the restaurant, came to me, jumped on the chair next to me, jumped on top of me, and I had my bag on my lap. The bag was open, and the cat was trying to go into that bag, like with her head, trying to go in, trying to go in. Now I have to say something, and I will say it. So when I go to the toilet and my pants are down, our cat Gorby, which looked quite like that cat in Turkey, she's always coming and jumping into the pants and doing that and trying to accommodate her or sleep there. And then I thought, maybe this cat in Turkey, it was looking for food, or no, but then Lena came with food, and there was meat on the plate. And in that moment, when she came with the food, the cat left. I mean, that was the same thing. It behaved exactly like our cat here. So,
By now, it was clear. Oh no, we didn't know that. That was first. Yeah.
what?
Nothing. I was just thinking about the sequence. Maybe we should take a break here, no?
Mhm.
Because that's a nice way to end the story.
Over.
Over, over
Goodbye.
and out.
See you next time.
Yes.